the real reason why 6 sensories fail in their relationships with 5 sensory people. The real reasons we fail is because we don't uncover the real genuine reasons why our relationships with 5 sensories are not working, and we come up with these facsimile excuses instead of genuinely investigating the deeper reasons why our relationships aren't working. So if we're 6 sensory, and let's say, for example, you're the type of 6 sensory who believes in guides and angels, you might have this belief that 5 sensories can't accept who I am because my belief system is so out there. That's a big excuse 6 sensories use in their relationships with 5 sensories and why their relationships with 5 sensories fail. But there are many different types of excuses that 6 sensories come up with in order to avoid relationships with 5 sensories. And I've used these excuses myself from time to time in my life. I am a 6 sensory person growing up around a lot of 5 sensory logical people. And so I had some of these excuses growing up too as to why I wasn't getting into relationship. And I actually didn't start having a lot of deep romantic relationships until later in life when I became more of a mature adult, because I was so protective of my sensitivity and my spirituality for so many years as a young adult. The number one excuse I would use to protect myself in relationships, and this is a tricky one, is that I would protect myself because I believed that everybody else out there in the dating world were 5 sensory and they just wanted to hook up, and there was just no way they would understand my sensitivity. And I found a lot of creative ways to deal with it. I thought maybe if I dated someone a little less good looking, a little less tall, or a different race, that I would avoid being judged by somebody who was a bit more 5 sensory, a bit more logical than I was. The interesting thing that happened was when I finally put myself out there as a 6 sensory, very traditionally good looking guys started to be attracted to me. And I realized that I can really go for the person that I want in life, and I don't need to protect myself. And it's really up to me to decide what qualities I wanted. And nothing was too out there, nothing was too extreme that I couldn't have it, as long as I was true to myself, authentic, and willing to commit to my mission as a 6 sensory to help other 6 sensories in their relationships with 5 sensories. However, you might look at me and you might say, Leah, I'm not the same as you. I can't just go out there and attract the partner of my dreams. And my argument to that is you need to look for examples of people who are like you, who have attracted the partner of their dreams. And there are people out there who accomplish this. So let's say your insecurity is that you are 250 pounds and that's overweight, and therefore you can't get the partner that you want in life. Start looking for people on the internet who are that weight, who have actually attracted the partner of their dreams, or they have a similar look or body size that you have. You'd be really surprised, but people do find ways to find the partnerships of their dreams, regardless of whether they're overweight or they're underweight or whatever the situation might be. If they're a woman, maybe they have the attractive body parts that they think their partner may want, or maybe they don't. It actually doesn't matter as much as people think it does. What really matters in having a successful relationship is understanding the psychology of the other person. If you understand that, you can attract almost any person of your dreams that you like. The problem with us 6 sensories is that we blame our relationship failure on people not accepting us for who we really are. That's the number one thing. And then the other thing might be superficial qualities that we think are wrong with us that aren't really that important. But really the culprit of us failing our relationships and not succeeding in them is not understanding the 5 sensory partner. And why is it so hard for us to understand 5 sensories? It's because they think so differently than we do. In fact, they're often in their logical brain, and very often they're in a primitive state of mind of fight or flight, where they're worrying about the future or they're dwelling about the past. And when they're in that state, it's something that we want to avoid as 6 sensories, so we don't imagine what it's like for another person who can be in those states on a regular basis in their mind. We're trying so hard to look for things that pull us towards in life that we don't understand the people who are only motivated when they're pushed away from something. We are opposites by nature, and opposites tend to attract. And then we don't have the discipline as six sensories to monitor our thoughts, to monitor what we're seeing in front of the other person, and not realizing that we could actually be overwhelming them. It's a form of respect. If we talk too much, say too much, give too much to the other person and they're not ready to receive it, then they're not going to be able to have a functioning relationship with us. Instead, they're going to run away. That's when we get ghosted, because we've actually overwhelmed the partner. It doesn't mean that that's who you are as a person, that you are too much, or that there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. What we need to realize is that we need healthy outlets where we can express who we are authentically, that are outside of our traditional relationships with five sensory people. We get given this advice on the internet to be vulnerable and share what is troubling us from time to time, and that can be very powerful when it's done correctly. Having said that, when we're in our intimate relationships with five sensories as six sensories, this is probably not the best place to go with our vulnerabilities. Six sensory to six sensory, we do extremely well at taking care of each other and addressing our own vulnerabilities with others and lifting people up and encouraging them to be their best. Having said that, because of the mindset of the five sensory, when they're in fight or flight, these are not the people to take your vulnerabilities to. Sometimes our vulnerabilities are simply our dreams that haven't flourished yet. They could be a seed in the soil that is still yet to sprout. And the doubting five sensory will probably point to it and say it's not working. And it would appear as if they are correct. But what the five sensory doesn't have that six sensories do have is faith. And so we need to protect that faith and protect those projects that are newly planted seeds in the ground. Don't tell your five sensory family about it. Don't tell your five sensory partner about it. Or if you do, be ready for them to doubt it, like a doubting Thomas, right? That's what they do best. And if you can understand who they are and that they're going to behave like that and still stay motivated, then by all means, do it. But having said that, if you feel even a little bit nervous, like you want to give up on it, even though you really need to push forward on your projects, then don't tell your doubting Thomas five sensory friends, partners, or family. If you decide to end up working with people in the future, it's very important, if you want to work with other six sensory people and build a positive, empowering community, that you protect that community. You protect those people who are sensitive and empathetic, because they've been beaten up by the world already. They have been through it with other five sensories, and if you're not a good, careful gatekeeper and you let five sensories in to your community of six sensories who are looking for support and relief on how to deal with five sensory people in the first place, then you and your community are not going to last very long. In addition, you have to protect yourself and treat yourself like the sweet six sensory community you want to protect when you're getting to know new five sensories and build relationships with them. That counts if you're in business or if it's your personal life. Protect your insecurities. Work on them. If you do feel that you are a little bit overweight, then go to the gym, go get some exercise. And as long as you're doing the best you can, you will feel better about it, for example. But honestly, it's not even that important in terms of your attractiveness to five sensories. The important thing is to accept who you are authentically, and then you will do fine in your relationships. And then for your health, if you are feeling like you need to improve, that's completely okay, and you can work on improving your health as well. We tend to make too big of a deal out of the superficial aspects of life, and we turned things like fitness into the idols that we worship. It's like the person with the fittest body is the king of the world, or the person who works out and is busy on a constant basis at the gym should be the one that earns the most respect. And there's nothing wrong with fitness. It's absolutely fabulous to commit to fitness. Having said that, we have to be aware as six sensories that there are much deeper qualities that we need to look for in our relationships with five sensories and six sensories than these superficial things that everybody else is in a rat race chasing after. It doesn't mean that we can't have attractive people or we shouldn't want that, because that's counterproductive. But what we need to realize is that it's just not as important as other people think it is. The bottom line here is that you have to identify the real underlying reason you're not actually succeeding in your relationships with five sensories, rather than making it about your looks, your money, or something else that's superficial about you. That's a good and convenient excuse as to why it's not working.